we are in episode 2 already of the Running My Mouth podcast. I was about to introduce myself, but there's no need to. It's just me this time around, so I don't need to do that. Kind of forgot. Oops, muscle memory, I guess. Anyway, it is what? Okay, it's May 18th. I don't know why I needed to announce that, other than to say we're halfway through May. And it is graduation season. You know what? I need to take this off because it's already hot outside and I had to turn my air off because it's loud. So if you're just listening to this on the audio only versions, which are now available on Apple and Google Podcasts, I took my sweater off. There really is nothing to it. And I need to grab this pillow. Okay. There we go. I'll toss this out of frame. Boom. All right. Now that I'm comfy, we are halfway through May, and it's graduation season, which means the children, they are graduating. I do remember having a kindergarten graduation. I was in a cap and gown, and they gave me a rolled up piece of paper, which I guess was supposed to be my kindergarten diploma. I don't know. Did I have an 8th grade graduation? We had a ceremony, not a proper commencement ceremony, but we did have something for the end of middle school. And let's see, when I was in the 5th grade, we didn't really have a graduation, but we did have an end of the year dinner where we went to a fancy manor type house, and we had to learn how to properly hold our knife and fork before we went, and we had that kind of thing. And of course I had a regular high school graduation. I cried at my high school graduation, which is kind of wild, kind of wacky, that I did that. I don't know. There's just a lot going on at the time. That's probably why I cried. It's just oh yes, I'm finally leaving this place. I'm finally going on to greener pastures. And I don't know. I've never cried out of happiness before. I don't if I am expelling water from my eyeballs, I have to be really upset, and not in a good way either. So I don't think I was crying out of happiness. I don't know what was going on with me at the time, but I was definitely crying. That reminds me, oh gosh, I have a story actually about my high school graduation. So it is, I don't know if it's a trend. I mean, I graduated high school in 2017, which apparently was a while ago. So I don't know if the children are still doing this now, but when we walked, well, not all of us, it wasn't everyone actually, it was just a few students. Yeah, it was only a few students who did this, but when we actually walked across the stage, sometimes some people would dance across the stage and do that because yay, graduating from high school, ooh, accomplishment, let's get lit. And we actually got in trouble for that, which is kind of wild because I mean, after graduation, we were no longer students at the school. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What happened is that my graduation night, some of us, not me, by the way, not I, no, not I, never me. Some of my classmates may or may not have lost their domestication at the gig by just getting out of their seats and being loud and happy and stuff and dancing across the stage for my high school graduation. And let's see, I think my graduation was on a Friday, and I want to say a few days after that, I got a text from one of my friends being hey, the principal of the school says we need to go down to the school auditorium. And I'm oh, okay, we have to get our, first of all, that is the way that I received that message. There was no call to my house, there was no email to my parents or anything like that. I just kind of heard through the grapevine that we were summoned back to the school for some reason. I was kind of under the assumption that we would be getting our diplomas, because when we actually walked across the stage, the only thing we got was the holder thing. It's an empty little foldery thingy. So I was I was kind of under the assumption that we were going back to get our diplomas. So eventually I get there, and not all of my class is there. A good amount of us are, but not everybody. And we sit down in this auditorium, and out comes our principal, basically reading us to filth for being undomesticated at our graduation. And we didn't get our diplomas there, so that was kind of useless. And the people who ended up showing up there weren't really the ones who were doing it anyway. So like we basically got yelled at for nothing because the ones who were there weren't the ones who were doing it. And so I'm honestly still kind of confused as to how this message got out. Because like again, I heard this from a friend that we were summoned to the school to answer for our crimes. And like, I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was really that big of a deal. Maybe some parents like complained. I mean, I think my mom might have said something like, "Oh man, you guys really were wild." And it's like, "Yeah." And that was that. So, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Was it that big of a deal to summon us to the school and like yell at us? I don't think so. And I did eventually end up telling my parents about it, and my mom, I remember, she was a bit perturbed about it. So, yeah, that was that. Something that I had kind of forgotten about until, talking about graduation things. But let's see. So, my college graduation, which I mean, I've talked about it a little bit in my previous podcast, but this isn't the previous podcast, so I can bring up topics whenever I like. My college graduation wasn't necessarily a joyful event. I was talking to my mom about it some days ago because we have a trip coming up for my dad's 60th birthday. He wants us to, at first he wanted us to go somewhere for like a week, but like not all of us have like months worth of paid time off just stocked up. So obviously that couldn't happen. But my dad had already gotten a room, like a hotel room wherever he's staying. And he was like, "Oh, you and your brother should share a room." And I was like, under no circumstances is that happening again, because of what I'm about to tell you. So college graduation already. So like I like had technically already graduated in December of 2020. Yeah, December of 2020. And if you'll remember back to that time, there was a kind of a pond to replay going on. So we didn't actually have like a commencement for like the December graduates. And so eventually though, that next semester, so spring 2021, we ended up having a commencement for, it was like, I think 3 graduating classes. It was broken up like throughout the day. So mine was in the morning. So I graduated along with the spring 2021 graduates. So it was December 2020 and spring 2021 graduating together. I'm not sure about fall 20 or spring 2020. Maybe they were there too. I don't know. That's not really important, but I ended up graduating like a semester, I guess, after I'd actually graduated, like actually. So I'd been out of school at this point for like 4 months, right? Pond to replay in full swing, basically. You can't go outside, but it is heavily ill-advised to go outside. So I'm basically just kind of isolated, at home, away from all of my friends who were, for the most part, still here in Jackson because I graduated a semester earlier than them, and just kind of not having a good time. Just to, wrap this up, I was not having a good time. And so by this time, I was kind of, I guess I had been a little bit of a silly Billy and convinced myself that, oh yeah, 4 months, I'll definitely find a job, in my career field in the middle of a pandemic. Obviously that didn't happen. So, I was going into my graduation, this is supposed to be the start of new beginnings, I think, a graduation. You're graduating, you're going on to the next phase of your life. And here I am already 4 months into the next, I don't know if it's 4 months exactly. So technically we left school after the Thanksgiving break and we just didn't go back. So I'm going to count, actually, no, I'm not going to count November. So December, January, February, March, April, May. No, it's 5 months. So almost half a year into the so-called next phase of my life. And I'm just chilling, just sitting at home, unemployed, so I was already feeling a type of way about that. And then coming back to Jackson and seeing everyone and realizing that, it's probably going to be the last time I would see a lot of these people also had me feeling kind of sad because, I mean, at that point, I was still making plans to, because my like whole 5 year plan that I had created in my last year, my last semester of college, was that I would move to Atlanta and, do film stuff there. Obviously, that didn't end up happening. But, at that point, I was still, well, no. By then, I was not under the impression that I would be living in Atlanta. I had applied for, I don't know how many jobs in Atlanta. I got none of them. I got 0 interviews for any of them. So I had set my sights to Birmingham at this point, which is not exactly a filmmaking hub in Alabama. Really, I don't even know if Alabama like has one. I mean, for Mississippi, I would say it's like the coast or like Natchez or basically anywhere outside of the metro, to be completely honest. So I'd kind of set my sights on Birmingham by that point. So, if I were to actually move out there, I would, be away from most of the friends that I had made here in Jackson and at Belhaven. So I was kind of sad about that, and, just having a lot of emotions, just generally unhappy at the same time as well. And so, we had to for some reason we couldn't stay with family here, so we had to stay in a hotel. And we stayed in the hotel overnight. My parents, my mom and dad, got their own room, and I had to share a room with my brother, who I don't really get along with. And I knew I wouldn't end up enjoying this, but I thought, okay, it's just one night. It's my graduation. I'm trying to end out strong. Desperately trying to end out strong. And not only does my brother like just be generally obnoxious during this whole thing, like I remember we were having dinner, I think at the hotel, and he had like got shots for everyone, and I don't drink. Like that's not something that I do, not really for any particular reason. It's just I don't partake. I just don't. There's really no other way to say it. And he was trying to like peer pressure me into taking shots, and had to tell him to leave me alone, and that was just a whole thing. And then, you know, go back to the room, try to get some sleep cuz well, I mean, getting sleep after traveling is not a hard thing for me cuz like traveling just makes me tired. So falling asleep probably wouldn't be hard. However, there was the whole thing of, looking forward to the graduation, which would be the next morning, and seeing everybody. So there was a bit of nervous apprehension there as well. So, trying to fall asleep, and, my brother is not in the room at this point, but all of a sudden I hear the door to the hotel room open, and in comes my brother and also this girl who I don't know. Like, I don't know who she is, comes into our room. I remember wordlessly just sitting up in bed and staring at these two like, are we really doing this right now? Like, could she not just like wait in the hallway or something? Do you have to bring her in here? Right? So that already like kind of teed me off. And then for the graduation itself the next morning, I think it was at like 10 or something, had to get up. I did end up doing my own makeup, which honestly I do still like that. That was pretty nice. I liked, I mean, it was it wasn't all that good, but I did like it. So, there was that. I did, I buffaloed my way into being able to wear my hair in twists, even though my mom wanted me to straighten it and wasn't going to do that. But my mom also made like this whole to-do, as moms are wont to do, about what I was going to wear to the graduation. And I'm not like super into wearing like dresses unless they're like floor length. I love me a good floor length dress. But the thing about that is that it's kind of hard to find a good floor length dress because I am 4'11". So, floor length dresses aren't exactly built for the short girlies. They're built for the average height girlies or the tall girlies, people who have some room for the dress to hit the floor. So, I mean, now I don't think that's really an issue for me because, like, I do own a sewing machine. I don't know how to use it, but I'm gonna learn, obviously. So, like, if I do happen to find a really nice dress that I like, but it's just a little bit too long, I could probably hem it. I think I could do that. But I couldn't do that at the time. So I was originally just planning on wearing like some slacks and a nice blouse or something and some heels, but my mom was like, "No, you can't wear pants to a graduation." She was acting like I was gonna be sent to the gulag if I showed up in pants. Okay, she called up to the university to be like, "Hey, what's the dress code for the graduation? What do all these adults have to wear to their graduation?" And she ended up buying this god awful, just ugly, just does not fit right navy blue dress for me to wear. So already I was like uncomfortable. Like it was mostly covered up by my gown, which, you know, it's a graduation gown. It covers basically all of you. So like I mean, at least people didn't have to see it, but I was still uncomfortable. And then I don't know why she just insisted on buying new shoes for me. She bought like these. Listen, I know some girlies can make them work, but I cannot. I don't like wedges. I don't like wedges. Wedges just aren't the tea for me. They just aren't. And so she ended up making me wear wedges. And I know some of you may be thinking, at this point, you're what? Like, how old was I? Let's see, you're 21, right? You're grown, basically. But I've had to set some boundaries with my mother for being really overbearing about certain things, and at that time that boundary was not there. I'm working on it, okay? It's a thing, all right? So I basically had to wear clothes I didn't like. I at the very least was able to do my own makeup and have my hair be how I wanted it. So that was a plus, I guess. And then to put the cherry on top of the crap cake, so what they did during our graduation, which is a very good idea if it ever had worked out, is they gave you like a card and it has your name on it and it has your, I guess, whatever graduation classification, so like cum laude or whatever, and I think maybe your major or like whatever school you're in, or like whether or not you had a bachelor of arts or bachelor of science or all that stuff, so that you can hand it to the provost and they can read it out and people can go yay, and then you walk across the stage and have your picture taken. And so what the provost did was went around to everybody, which again would have been nice if it worked out. He went around to everybody and was like, "All right, how do you pronounce your name?" And I told him how to pronounce my name. Now, my first name, Aaron, that's not super hard to pronounce. However, people make it seem like it's freaking impossible just because it's spelled with an A. So that's strange sometimes. But my last name, I gotta coach people on how to say it. It's fine. This is my lived experience. It's been my whole life. It's whatever. I was honestly really happy that the guy was going around and like trying to figure out how to pronounce our names so that you don't embarrass us on our graduation day. And so I tell him, "This is how you pronounce my last name," and then he writes it down sort of phonetically on the card, and I look at it and it's like, I don't know if he's gonna say this right, but I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm already in a bad mood, right? I'm just trying to let things happen and just get it done, basically. So it's my turn now. I'm up on the stairs to the dais, I guess, a little raised platform. I give the provost my card, and he says my name wrong. And so it's like, I honestly can't do anything other than shake my head as I'm walking across the stage, just like disappointed. Honestly, I should have made him say it again. I should have made him say it right, but I didn't at the time. If I could go back in time and make him say it right, I would have made him say it right. But alas, I was kind of just not wanting to deal with it at the time. So I just walked across the stage with my name being said wrong. And I'm not going to have another graduation. I'm not going to grad school. Probably. I'm probably not going to grad school. Like, that's not in the cards right now. Because now, if I want to go to college again, I got to pay for it. And I absolutely don't have money. So I'm not going to have that experience again. And the only, college graduation experience that I have is with the provost saying my name wrong. So, all that to say, my college graduation was sullied by a lot of little things collectively becoming a big thing. And yeah, that's that's sad. So how long have I been recording for? Not even that long. I don't even know why I'm checking. So yeah, that was my graduation experience, but I mostly bring this up because, there are a lot of these articles coming out, now that it's graduation season, that what do you call them when they're like really good at something? I don't know. I just lost the word. What's the word for it? There's a word when you're like really good at something, but you're like really young. And I had it and then I lost it. Anyways, you've seen the articles. You know what I'm talking about. 14-year-old graduates high school with a bachelor's degree in computer science, and it's like okay, that might be impressive. Like whatever. I'll give them that. Also, I want to preface this section of what I'm about to say with that I don't really mean this towards these kids at all. Like these kids, they probably didn't have a whole lot of choice in the matter, if I'm being honest with all of you, okay? Mostly I'm side-eyeing the parents. The parents are the ones who are getting my ire here, so let's not get it twisted and say that I'm hating on kids. I know I am a hater, but my hateration is not directed towards children. I just want to make that clear. So, seeing a bunch of articles being like, obscenely young person graduates high school with like 5 bachelor's degrees or like 6 associate's degrees or something like that. And it's like, okay, first of all, if you graduate from high school, okay, let me walk it back a little bit, because we have been seeing some articles, and by we I mean me have been seeing some articles that they're like these 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, and I think there's like one 9-year-old, but this was I swear like earlier in the year, so I don't even know how that happened, because graduation is usually like May, June type of thing. But anyways, really young people graduating from high school and going to college. And the thing about that is like, okay, so they might be going to like, I don't know, what's like a really nice college that isn't obvious, like Harvard? Brown University, is that like a really nice college? I don't know. So like, you got a 14-year-old going to Brown University. First of all, in most universities, you can't live in the residence halls if you're like under, I think 17. I think it's under 17. You can't live like in the residence halls. So like if these kids live out of state, then they gotta live off campus, but they're not gonna live in an apartment, because you can't rent an apartment if you're under 18, right? So are their parents just gonna uproot their lives and go to their college towns to like stay with them? Like how does that work? So right already off the bat, we have like a logistical difficulty here of like where are these kids gonna stay? And I would imagine these parents, they have it all worked out or whatever, so this might not be that much of a logistical difficulty that I'm making it out to be. But anyways, moving on. Secondly, you have the fact that, the people that usually go to college, the age range, I would say, is about, I'm going to say 17, because I started college when I was 17. However, I was 17 for like a few weeks, and then I turned 18. So 17 to, honestly, God, I'm going to say like 17 to, honestly, anywhere up until like 26. I'm going to say the upper limit is like 26. And then, of course, if you have like, I don't know, a graduate program at your school or a PhD program at your school, then the age range is like basically infinity, I guess, because people go back to school at basically any age. So, but we'll limit it to like undergraduate classes. So you'll have, again, anywhere from 17 to I'll say 25. I'll be fair. I'll say 25. I think a large part of the college experience is like meeting and getting to know the people who you go to class with. Like that's how I made basically all the friends that I had in college was in class. So knowing that, like, okay, hypothetically speaking, I am a 14-year-old, okay? And I go to, I don't know, Brown University. we're just gonna use Brown University, I guess. And I'm in English 201. I don't even know what class that would be, but let's just say I'm in English 201. This is a 200 level class already. So this is like, we'll say juniors and sophomores, and did I say juniors? I meant freshmen and sophomores, and maybe like a junior here and there. So people that I'm like in class with, they're gonna be, again, at minimum 3 to 4 years older than me, which, when you're like grown, that's not that much of a age difference. But when you're 14, 17 to 18, that's a big leap. Just do a little thought experiment for me. Sit down, have a seat, close your eyes, take a deep breath, get very zen, and imagine yourself at 14 years old, assuming that the people listening to this aren't already 14 years old. So if you're over the age of 14, if you're if you're at least 18, right? Just imagine yourself and where you were at, just like mentally and just in life in general at the age of 14, okay? All right, have you done that? All right, and now imagine yourself either at your current age, if you are a college-aged person, or let's say at 18, if you are older than 18, I guess. Or if you're 18, just imagine yourself now. I don't know. So just think about who you were at 14 and who you were at 18. Just me personally, I don't think 18-year-old me will want to hang out with 14-year-old me. 23-year-old me doesn't want to hang out with 14-year-old me. 14-year-old me is annoying and also a child. So I just annoying, awkward, just weird, just admittedly kind of weird to a normal, well-adjusted adult, right? Because you're a teenager, right? You're still figuring a whole lot of stuff out. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're someone who has an older sibling who is in that, same age gap range, and, maybe you're like, oh yeah, I would take my younger sibling to class with me and hang out with him, which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't believe you, but whatever. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now, since you are a hypothetical person in this instance. But you can't, if you're 14 going to class with a bunch of 18 to 19-year-olds, you're not, I don't think you're really gonna be able to make a whole lot of friends. I'm just gonna say it, you aren't. Like, and I'm not, again, this isn't directed at the kids at all, right? This is at the parents. Like, why would you want to put your child in that kind of environment? And also, something else, college is a place where a lot of people find romantic relationships. Some of them last very long, some of them don't. But again, if you're like in college and all of a sudden, let's say you're a 14-year-old girl, I'm gonna use girl because I'm a girl and I can relate. So let's say you're a 14-year-old girl in class with basically all these grown men, and all of a sudden you start getting like attention from them, and it's kind of weird. But even though you're 14 but all these guys are like older than you, but now all of a sudden they're paying attention to you, and it's like okay, I'm not a parent, right? And I hope to God that I never am, but if I were to hypothetically be taking care of a 14-year-old girl, I wouldn't want her in a place with a bunch of grown men. Listen, I know how men are, okay? Not before you hashtag not all men me, a lot of them kind of weird. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them pretty weird, pretty gross, pretty stinky, pretty just odd, So I don't know if I want my hypothetical non-existing 14-year-old daughter in that. So yeah, so that's another challenge that they would have to face. And also, something that I notice, right? A lot of the times, these kids that graduate college with like a bachelor's degree, not college, graduate high school with a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, what they're doing are these programs they're either called early college or dual enrollment or something of that nature. And basically what that is that you are taking college credit courses simultaneously with your high school classes. And I know this because I did it myself. Of course, I never stuck around with it, which that topic has been on my video list for quite some time now. I don't know if it'll ever get made, but I have been thinking about doing a video on it, so who knows? It might get made. I don't know. Maybe not now. Maybe sometime in the future. I do still need to ruminate on it a little bit, considering just how much it like messed me up during that time, but we're getting off track a little bit. So when these kids are in these kinds of programs, for me, it was kind of done two ways. So for some of the classes that I took in my dual enrollment courses, I actually went to a community college and actually went to the classes, which again, I've experienced that. I freaking forgot. Of course, I'm speaking from experience here, just a little bit. So, when I was in high school, I was taking college classes and I was going to these colleges, and I was painfully aware that I was the youngest person in the room for a lot of them. I was 13 and 14 and 15-ish, but I dropped out when I was 15. Dropped out of college when I was in high school. I dropped out of college when I was in high school, which is a wild thing to say, but that's what happened. But yeah, I dropped out around 15 years old. So yeah, I was basically a kid in a class with a bunch of adults. I remember distinctly, man. I was in my English 101 class, and I think this was during the summer. I was in an English 101 class, which was honestly kind of weird to me at the time because the stuff that I was learning in that class was the exact same stuff that I had learned in like ninth grade English, which was weird. This is a college course. I thought it was going to be harder, but I was basically rehashing stuff that I'd learned in the school year. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I was in class with a bunch of adults, and I remember, class ends, and I'm 13 years old at the time, right? And I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when I get home. Oh man, I'm going to play a little Minecraft, get on the Shotbow server, do a little Mine Z, or maybe I will play The Sims 2 and, really work on my custom neighborhood that I had going at the time called Booth Bay Harbor, which again, I do want to make a video about that too, but I really don't know how that would, what exactly that would look like. But anyways, I'm thinking about all these like kid things. Oh, I am peeking. I just realized I am peeking so hard. I am so sorry to my listeners. But I was thinking about all these, kid things I'm gonna do when I get home. And there's these two ladies who are in the elevator with me going downstairs, and they're talking about their children. And it's like, this is not a conversation that I can engage in, at all. So already there's a disconnect there between me and my classmates. So like I have experienced that kind of thing. And now of course this is not the traditional kind of college experience in that I didn't live on campus because it was a community college, and I don't think you could live on campus anyway. I didn't live on campus. I didn't really do stuff on campus aside from like go to class because the campus was really small. Again, it was a community college, but still, there was a noticeable disconnect between me and the people I was taking my classes with. And, this community college had this program going for a while now, so it wasn't like rare, but I still kind of want to know how some of the people that I was taking my classes with felt that there's like a 13-year-old in their midst. And I've never had, I've never been on the opposite side of the spectrum. So like being normal age in college and like having a high schooler or teenager in class with me. So like I can't speak for the other side of the coin, but I do know being a young kid in a college class was kind of not weird, but there I guess I didn't really notice it at the time because I was so young, but looking back on it, it's noticeable how much of a disconnect there was, right? So that I can speak to. But okay, so I've talked about already how, a kid in a college, first of all, where are they going to live, right? Just like the 9-year-old who, oh, I remember what thread I was going on. So the kinds of programs, I'm back on track now. Okay, I'm back on track. We're bringing it back. So the other way that I would take these college classes is that I would just do online classes, which of course in a post Pond to Replay world is the norm for some people. But I hated doing online classes so much. I hated it. I don't know why. I just don't learn well that way. I need to be in person learning. Otherwise, ain't nothing getting absorbed. So, and honestly, I remember more of the stuff from my dual enrollment classes 10 years ago, mind you, a decade ago. All right. I remember more stuff from the classes that I took where I was actually in person versus the ones that I took online, right? So already we know how my brain works, and online classes just aren't the tea for me. So again, there's like another question as to whether or not learning online is as effective as learning in person. I personally think it varies from person to person. It didn't work for me, but I do know, when I was in college, when the pandemic hit, it really worked for a lot of other people. It just really, really did not work for me. But anyways, so all that to say is that when these kids are doing dual enrollment type of things. They are either going to a campus and sitting in in-person classes, or they are doing online classes, or they might be doing a combination of both. Because there were some other dual enrollment students at my high school, and I'm pretty sure they were doing like a mix of both. Because not only was it during the summer for me, but it was also during the school year. But obviously, if it's during the school year, I can't leave school to go to school basically. Like, I didn't drive until my senior year of high school anyways, so it wasn't like I could just drive from my high school to my, you know, freaking college campus. I would have to have someone, like, I don't know, pick me up and take me there. And also there's the fact that there weren't enough dual enrollment students to like necessitate a kind of busing type of schedule. So I had to take them online during the year. All that to say. So there is a good possibility that, you know, the kids who do have these college degrees when they're graduating from high school don't quite have the traditional college experience. And like, yeah, they might, you know, be able to pass the classes online if it's just like, you know, your typical online class where it's mostly, I guess, test centric. There aren't really any lectures. Now, okay, so times have changed. When I was taking classes online, and this was back in like 2013 and 2014, I guess it might have just been the community college I was at. It might be different at other colleges, but there wasn't really any like infrastructure to have like Zoom classes, I guess. So that there were no lectures for me, right? So it wasn't like a traditional like class, because like when I went online during college, obviously Zoom was around. It was a popular thing to use. So I did have some lectures. Of course, I don't remember any of them because really all you had to do was just log on and maybe walk away. If your class was big enough, you could get away with not paying attention or even turning your camera on. Um, but for some of my smaller classes, I couldn't do that. But so yeah, I'll give them credit. Time may have changed where it might be, you know, a Zoom class type of situation. But again, I still don't think Zoom classes are like the same as like traditional classes. So I don't think it's comparable, you know. But all that to say is that I'm willing to bet that a lot of these kids who have these associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees graduating from high school weren't, you know, they weren't having the traditional college experience. And now maybe these kids with these associate's degrees, they're going, first of all, you already have like technically 2 years of college basically done. Because what was told to me, if I would have finished my dual enrollment program, is that I would have graduated from high school with a high school diploma and an associate's degree, and then I would only have to spend 2 years in college. And you know, I can get where my mom was coming from. And when I say my mom, I do really mean my mom. My mom was the only one pushing for this. My dad just didn't really care that much. He was honestly more focused on my happiness than I gave him credit for at the time. I didn't realize it at the time, but like big ups to him for that. Honestly, he was a real one for that. So you know, it probably would have saved some money because my mom worked at the community college, so she got a discount for all the classes I was taking. And of course, community college is different, or it's cheaper than like traditional college. And so if I only spent, you know, 2 years in traditional college instead of like 3.5 years, then overall we would have been paying less. But at the same time, if I had gone through with it, first of all, I would have been just so stressed out, just unbelievably stressed out, in a state of stress that I have not experienced before or since. You know, even during that time when I was doing it, that was maximum stress for me. That was more stressful for me than being actually in college. And it was mostly because of the pressure that was put on me by my parent, because it was really just my mom. And that's another thing. I can't imagine the amount of stress these really young kids are going through. You know, this expectation is on them that, oh, you're gonna be the example in our family. That wasn't really an expectation for me, but I'm just like speculating here for these other kids. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna be the example in our family. You're gonna be the smart, brainy one. You're gonna graduate from high school with a bachelor's degree, and you're gonna go on to do great things. And you know, some of these kids, they go on to just be regular people, and it's just, how do you cope with that, right? How do you cope with having just insurmountable expectations put on you at that age. Because already when you graduate from high school, there's a lot of pressure on you to kind of figure out what you want to do with basically the rest of your life. And I suppose I'm kind of lucky in that regard because I had a general idea of what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be a writer, so I thought I would major in English, but then I majored in creative writing, and then I thought film is more fun, so I started doing that, and yada yada yada. The rest is history. So but what if you're like, what if you're 14, right? Graduating from high school, now you're in college, don't know what you want to do with your life? Like, I didn't know what I want. Well, okay, that's not true. I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was 14, so never mind. But not every kid has like a good idea of what they want to do at like 14, okay? And so not every kid has a good idea of what they want to do at 18. So, some do, some don't. But having just that amount of pressure on a kid is bonkers, bananas, crazy, right? And, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these 3 associate's degrees kids end up dropping out of like their bachelor's programs or their master's programs because the pressure is just too much, or it's just too much, So if they do, honestly, I have nothing but sympathy for these children. Again, if the ones who do end up doing, I don't know, 2 master's programs at like 12 or whatever, if they do go on to do great things, congratulations, you probably exceeded everyone's expectations, because honestly, I think most people are expecting these kids to crash and burn, which, it's sad that that expectation is there, but as someone who kind of went through the trial by fire, like it was just too much. It was just too much pressure, right? Not only was it too much pressure, but just like a lot of other stuff was going on at the time for me in my life, and stacking that on top of it just did not help. Oh, at all. So, even if you do have like a relatively normal life at the time, I still think the pressure would be too much. So, I have nothing but sympathy for these kids who are doing this, and I have nothing but colossal side eye for these parents who are making them do that. Because, like, is it really in the kid's best interest? Like, is it? Whose best interest is this? Is it yours, the parents, or is it the kids? Because I would think a kid's best interest would be, having a childhood, right? You have the rest of your life to be an adult and do adult things, but let kids be kids, for Christ's sake. Like, they have the rest of their life for insurmountable pressure. The weight of the world to be on their shoulders doesn't need to be on their shoulders at 14 years old, okay? And again, I'm not a parent, but I was a kid who went through that. So I think I can speak with some authority on the issue. I didn't expect to talk so long as I did about that particular topic, but it's graduation season. Oh, something else I wanted to talk about. I don't have graduation pictures. The only graduation picture I have is like at my actual graduation. And I was supposed to take graduation pictures, but I could tell that my mom was starting to like try to executive produce that. So I was like, you know what? No, actually, I don't need that. But who says you need to take graduation pictures when you graduate anyways? I still have my cap and gown. I still have my diploma. It's all back home. I would need to get it. But realistically, I could like plan a photo shoot like next week and have it. And those would be my graduation pictures. I think I look the same as I did in 2021, so it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility to say, like, yeah, I took these after I graduated. Of course I did. When else would I take them? So, and also, I follow a decent amount of people online. I don't even know why I had to say that. I follow some people online, and I've been seeing, people's graduation photo shoots like on my timeline and whatnot. And some of the girlies, they're getting a little elaborate. Like, well, I saw this one either this morning or yesterday of this girl, and she's like, all battied out, and she's graduating, I think from Spelman, and she's like sitting on top of the college, like, again, all battied out. And honestly, slay. That was kind of nice. She kind of ate that. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't somebody that I like actually knew, but it like came across my timeline, and I was like, you know what? The HBCU girlies are out here doing it. I would never go to an HBCU. just so I could put that one out there. But, yeah. Graduating from things. Actually, I have one of my cousins. I don't know what she's graduating from. I don't think it's I don't think she's getting a bachelor's degree because she's older than me and started college before I did. So I'm assuming she's getting a master's degree, but she's having like a little soiree later this week, and I think I'm gonna go. It's a little far, but you know, I'm trying to branch out and be around my family now. I'm in my I'm in my sociable era, So yeah, graduation. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of mids. Mostly highs and lows though. So it's also prom season. Well, okay, I don't know if it's necessarily prom season anymore. It might have been more back in April or May. Well, it's still May, but I can't remember like during what month my prom was at. But I had a prom. We only had a senior prom at my school. There was no junior prom business, so I don't have that experience of having the choice of 2 years to go to prom. So, I only had the 1 year. But honestly kind of like the 8th grade graduation. We had a 6th grade formal. I remember that. It was personally significant to me because I something about me when I was in grade school, meaning K through, well, not even really K through, but I'll say 6th through 12th ish, is that I just did not like going to dances. I don't know if this is a thing of the past. You know what? I don't really hear about schools having dances anymore. Is that something that died out with my generation? That's kind of crazy if it is. But, I don't know if I have to explain the concept of a dance, but it's basically a school sanctioned event where, a bunch of kids will crowd in the gym and dance, basically. It's a dance. I really don't know how else to explain it, but they were really only had them in middle school. We didn't really have dances in high school. So honestly, I'm not really sure why that is, but in my middle school, I did not like going to dances, and as a result, I didn't go to any of them except for this one time. This one time, the school, collectively decided to treat us kids and like, hey, don't worry about going to your last 2 periods. We're having a dance, honey. And I was honestly kind of freaking out because, there was no way that I could get out of going to this dance in particular because I just didn't want to go. I don't know. I can't really explain the brain space that I was in at that moment, but again, I was 11 or 12 years old at the time, so just painfully awkward. Just not very, very much not like the other girls in this stage in my life. So I was like, ugh, I don't want to dance around boys. I want to read books. And so that is exactly what I did. So actually, no, this instance happened twice. So there's once where, you guys, you've been so good, you're gonna have a dance the last 2 periods of class. And they handed out tickets. They handed out tickets for this first one that I'm thinking about. And I had purposefully ripped up my ticket and threw it away to be like, oh, I don't have a ticket. Oh man, I guess I can't go to the dance. So I could stay in a classroom and just like read whatever Warriors book I was reading at the time instead of going to the dance. And so that's how I got out of it that first time. And you know what? I also distinctly remember going home that day and going on, and this one's gonna get some of you, going on ican'thascheeseburger.com, you know what I mean, and going on the Rage Comics section and making a Rage comic about it. It probably exists out there in the ether somewhere, but I purposefully ripped up my my dance ticket to read in a classroom basically by myself and made a Rage comic about it on ican'thascheeseburger.com. And that's an extremely 2012 sentence for me. Good God. Wow. Yeah. Whew, blast from the past. So this ended up happening a second time though. But in this instance, we weren't given tickets. So it's like everybody can go. You don't got to worry about, having to keep up with the ticket all day. And So in this instance, I couldn't really get out of it. And so it's like, oh, I don't want to be at this dance. I really don't want to do this. And so honestly, I think this one that I'm talking about now, it kind of bled over into like after school hours as well. And I want to say my mom was there, but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure she was at one of them, but I can't remember which one. Anyway, this one kind of bled over into after school hours. And so, oh man, yeah. Oh man. I'm just getting secondhand embarrassment just remembering this. So this is why it's taking me so long to like actually say what happened. So okay, all of us, we pile into the gym. We put our book bags on the bleachers, and everyone piles onto the basketball court, and the music starts playing, and everyone starts dancing in their, typical sixth grade dances. In that, the boys were probably no, I think okay. I was gonna say the boys are probably doing the jerk, but I think that was a little bit before then, because this had to have been 2012. And I think the jerk was like 2011. Cat Daddy, that's what it was. That was the dance at the time. The Cat Daddy. Oh my God. Okay, I think I remember how it goes. You go like this, you like that, you like that, and you go like that. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Oh man. If you're only listening to the audio version, you're only getting half the story. Yeah, that was the popular dance at the time. It was the Cat Daddy. I remember it. So the boys were doing that, and the girls were throwing it back, because of course they were. And I was just on the bleachers, like I could feel the Warriors library bound book in my backpack just burning a hole. And so I devised a plan. I devised a plan. It wasn't a good plan, but it was a plan that I devised, and I did carry it out. So what I did was I took the book very surreptitiously, and by that I mean somebody probably did see me, and I stuck it up my shirt. And in these times, 2012, I was about this big and flat as a board. And if you can't, if you're listening, if you're only listening to the audio version, you're only getting half the story. But I held up my pinky finger to show just how tiny I was. All that's to say, I put the book up my shirt. And obviously you could see there was a rectangle in my shirt. It's a book. Everybody could see it. But I thought it would be foolproof. And I'm sitting on the bleachers, and I have to sneak off to the bathroom to, be there in peace. So I kind of try to tiptoe around everyone, and I'm like the only person sitting on the bleachers, right? Everybody can see me. There's no surreptitiousness about this, but I thought, okay, all I have to do is sneak off to the bathroom with my book. I can wait until it's over, and then I can leave. And so I go in, and I walk past the concession stand, because I guess they had a concession stand for this particular dance. And two teachers see me, and they're like, ah, that's just Aaron. And I have to like awkwardly kind of hobble past them, kind of like obscure my body away from them, and continue into the bathroom, where there were a couple of girls in there. And I don't think they said anything to me, but I snuck into I think the handicap stall, so like the biggest stall, and sat on the toilet seat with my pants still on, so super gross, and took the book out of my shirt and tried to start reading it. I don't even think I got very far with, again, whatever Warriors book I was reading. And I think one of the teachers might have come in the bathroom, or somebody might have come in the bathroom, because again, I'm like taking up a stall, and I've been in there for like a few minutes at this point, longer than a person would usually be in the bathroom. So for some reason, I like leave the bathroom. I can't remember if it's a teacher is like looking for me, or if a student is like complaining that I'm in there for too long, but I end up leaving the bathroom. And this time, I don't think, maybe I do conceal my book. Okay, so I clandestinely conceal my book within my shirt, despite the fact that it sticks out very much. And I go back to the bleachers again. I'm the only one on the bleachers. And all right, I'm resigned to my fate. I guess I can't hide and read. I can't leave the gym, and I can't really go back to the bathroom because I've been found out. So I basically just have to sit on the bleachers and like read, just the only person there just with a book cracked open, having the least amount of fun of my life. And eventually, this that I remember, the gym teacher, our gym teacher that we had, was like, "Oh, Aaron, what are you doing on the bleachers? Come down and dance." And I remember he like, first of all, he asked me, and then of course I say no because I don't want to. And then he like goes up to the bleachers and like takes the book out of my hand and like grabs me and brings me down. And I remember I start crying when that happens, which is bonkers crazy. And I tearfully race back up the bleachers and open my book, and I think at that moment I'm left alone until the dance blessedly ends, and that was that. After that, I don't think there were any more forced dances that I had to go to, but man, that's just an interesting saga of my life where I just was, I don't know, I legitimately can't explain it. I don't know what words to use to describe me in the 6th and sort of the 7th grade. It's just embarrassing. I'll say it. It was embarrassing. Cause it kind of was. Only in retrospect though. I don't remember ever being like particularly embarrassed when these things were happening. Oh man, yeah. But anyways, all that to say, it's prom season, or maybe it was or it used to be. I don't know. I don't know any like prom going aged people, so I can't say whether or not it's still prom season. But yeah, we had a 6th grade formal, and I went to that one like voluntarily because, didn't want to get the FOMO of not going to the 6th grade formal. And my mom took me to good old TJ Maxx, and actually, it might have been Ross. She took me to Ross and bought me this dress. I still remember what it looked like. It was white, and I think it had either red leaves or red feathers or some kind of red shape of that nature, red oblong, oval type of thing. I'm pretty sure it was leaves. It had red, maybe like palm leaves on it, and it was strapless. And although I was flat as a board at the time, I do remember like being sort of self-conscious because, I wasn't wearing a bra. And it's like, I mean, at that time, in that era, I probably could have gone outside of doors, out of doors with no bra on, but these days can't happen. Again, if you're only listening to the audio version, you're only getting half the story, but I think some of my big booby fellow big booby having people know what I'm talking about. But anyways, and I had this like not red, it was a white, like not a shawl, but like a jacket type of, it looked like something a church lady would wear to go with it, because it's a strapless dress. I don't want to scandalize the people with my 12-year-old shoulders, I guess. I don't know. And that's what I wore. I can't remember what shoes I wore. Did I wear heels? No, couldn't have been. Flat shoes of some kind. So yeah, that was my proto prom. And then of course, when I was actually prom aged, so a senior in high school, I had my real deal prom, and that was of course a whole ordeal. Oh man, again, just what I'm about to say. Okay, what I'm about to say isn't embarrassing. It's just more like, oh girl, bestie, come on, girl. Like, you don't, come on. It's more like that, Oh man, I just get so phlegmy when I talk for long times. Anyways, what was I saying? So, prom, of course, comes around 12th grade year. I am just dead set on going with a particular boy, just the object of my affection for at that time, about 5 years now, so like from the 8th grade up until then. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd always known in the back of my mind that this guy wasn't gonna go to prom with me, but of course, it's like, you gotta try. So, can't say you didn't try. I did try. He said no, of course. And then I remember one day, I don't know why I was about to say what day of the week it was. I don't know what day of the week it was. But of course, at this time, promposals were like a big thing. They probably are still a big thing because the kids love to be extra these days. I mean, when have kids not loved being extra? But I feel like Gen Alpha, or not Gen Alpha because they're still in elementary school, but Gen Z, the younger Gen Zs, they just love some extraness, and honestly, love them for that. Who doesn't love a little extraness? But anyways, promposals were a thing at this time, and you know, the guy that I had wanted to go to prom with, he was out in the courtyard of our school, about to do a promposal for this one girl, and I distinctly remember the class that I was in because it was during class, I guess, but everyone in the class rushes out to see it. But I stay seated, and I remember, the teacher asking me like, "Don't you want to go outside and see?" And I'm like, "No, like what good is that gonna do me?" I want that to happen to me, and it's not happening to me. So I'm gonna protect my fragile emotional state as a 17-year-old and stay where I am. And that's exactly what I did. And I think the two of them ended up going to prom together, so it was whatever. If you're wondering who I went to prom with, I went on my stony lonesome. I went to prom by myself, which I mean, I don't think that's like a necessarily a big deal. Like if you want to go to prom, go to prom. Go to prom by yourself. Like you'll be fine, honestly. To be completely honest with you, I was bored at prom, so I probably would have been fine not going. But of course, there's the I think to be completely honest with you, I think my prom was like the only time that I've gotten any kind of like significant like FOMO, cuz like on the one hand, I didn't really want to go if I wasn't going with a guy I wanted to go with, but on the other hand, I didn't want to miss my prom. Like you only get one of those, right? Especially considering we weren't one of those bougie schools that had a junior and a senior prom. We only had like a senior prom. So I went to prom on my stony lonesome, and I, was kind of going through it at the time with the whole, body image thing. So I was very particular about the kind of prom dress that I wanted because I think at the time, when was this? No, it was 2017 because it was 2017. So the big style at the time for prom dresses was just mermaid, bodycon, and backless, and that was just not compatible with my body type. Like even at the time, it just wasn't gonna happen. Like even then, I had like large chesticles, and if you're a person with big boobas, you really can't. And if you're a person with big boobas and you expect to have any kind of support in the chest region, it kind of can't wear anything backless because otherwise they're just gonna be on the floor, right? Like honestly, they're just gonna be on the floor. So that was kind of out. I couldn't, wear the popular style that was big at the time, but I didn't really want to at the same time. But then again, I was kind of thinking like, okay, if this is the popular style, is this all the dress shops are going to be selling? Thankfully, I was wrong. So the dress that I ended up wearing, it was a two-piece. And the bodice was a kind of embroidered or lace, like white top. The neckline was kind of reminiscent of Jackie O, style icon Jackie O. So it was kind of high but like wide at the same time. I'm gonna look up a picture. I'm not gonna put it in the video, but just to give you an idea, I'm gonna tell you what to look up. So let's see, Jackie O neckline. Okay, so I'm looking at a picture. I think this is in Harper's Weekly, where it's like the neckline is kind of wide, but it's like she's wearing like a white dress or something. The neckline is kind of wide and it's kind of like structured at the top, sorta. And then it was sort of reminiscent of that. It wasn't exactly like that. Okay, perfect example. The jacket that Natalie Portman is wearing in the iconic image in Jackie O. It was kind of like that kind of neckline, but not as like stiff at the collar, if that makes sense. And it was not backless. It was white, and I'm pretty sure it was either lacy or embroidered, and it might have had like pearls and stuff on it. And the skirt portion was black with white polka dots and pink flowers, and which is honestly kind of a strange combination now that I think about it. But this was like, I don't know, I feel like in 2016, 2017, just that kind of pattern was like really popular, which honestly it still kind of slays in my mind. Maybe not polka dots, maybe stripes. There was another dress that I was looking at that had a black and white striped skirt, which honestly I would have gone for, but I think the top half of it just wasn't giving for me. But anyways, that's when my dress, and it had pockets. Ooh, it had pockets. Well, I still had a clutch though, even though technically I didn't need to. It was my mom's because she has a big array of things, and she let me borrow one of her clutches that kind of matched. And I had silver and like maybe some kind of crystal or faux crystal bracelet and matching earrings, and I had a tiara, which honestly that slayed. And the tiara went into this crown braid that I had that was so pretty. Oh, I did like my hair and my dress. Now my makeup, on the other hand, my mom got this makeup artist from somewhere. Apparently, she had done a photo shoot for like a family friend of ours, but that family friend, it was also for her like 55th birthday. So this person wasn't exactly doing Instabatty 2016 era makeup, which was incredibly apparent when it was done to me. Now, to be fair, I didn't really want to like have all of the like snatching and contouring and all of that. I wanted a very like natural look, but even the natural look that she gave me was kind of nothing. Just being honest, it wasn't superb. And I remember asking the lady, "Oh, I just want to wear like a simple matte red lip." And keep in mind, this is 2016 or 2017. Matte red lipstick, you can find it on any shelves. This woman did not have it. I had to go and use my own makeup, all right, for this makeup artist to give me the matte red lip that I wanted. So that was kind of strange. And not only that, but again, my mom, okay, the reason that I didn't really want to have a whole graduation photo shoot is because my mom really executive produced my whole prom. Like she, I had a general idea of like my makeup and my hair and the dress that I wanted, and so those were my idea. I didn't necessarily want like an entire day photo shoot for it though. And that's what ended up happening. So like going to the hair salon, getting my hair done, the photographer was there. Getting ready, the photographer was there. And then of course we had like a whole photo shoot in my backyard. Like I was about to tie the knot for what? I don't know. And oh man. And so one of my mom's friends had a Corvette, which slay, and she ended up driving me to prom. And I remember that being, oh man, I've been going for an hour. That's crazy. I remember that being kind of a significant experience because I remember driving to prom, right? It was a whole production, right? So I don't know if proms are like this where other people have gone to school, but at my school, it was basically an entire city affair. So in the road leading up to my school, there were people, so many people. Like this was the Oscars red carpet or something, just lined up and down the road. It was a startling amount of people. And I remember flipping through the book, because of course my mom got a book made, the book of pictures, and seeing the one that the photographer took of me like arriving to prom in the Corvette, and I look freaking terrified because I'm driving down this road, there's so many people crowded around this car and they're all looking at me, and it's so just the weirdest experience I've ever had in my life. Like literally all eyes on me, and I didn't like it. Like some people like being the center of attention, and you could argue like, Aaron, you must like attention. You make videos on YouTube and you're making this podcast, but like, I can't see all the people who are listening to this or watching this. Like, they are a concept. But when, no exaggeration, hundreds of eyes are on you at once and very close, it gets weird. It gets weird quickly. And it was weird. And yeah, I was honestly super freaked out in that car, but yeah. Oh man, yeah, it was a time. And I went by myself. And again, like I said, I was kind of bored. I did like, how the school kind of transformed our lunchroom into being like the prom venue. So that was fun. And honestly, I loved, love seeing the fashion. Cause honestly, at my prom, some of the girlies were turning looks. Some of the guys were turning looks too. People were turning looks at my prom. I'm not gonna lie. So that was probably a really fun experience. Of course, being a person who doesn't dance, I wasn't dancing. I was mostly just kind of sitting, walking around, saying hi to people, being bored, strangely, appreciating the looks, but otherwise just kind of bored. Just bored, just wanting to go home and play RimWorld, if I'm being completely honest with you. I was legit so bored at my prom. But then, they crowned? Christ, my brain is melting. They crowned prom king and queen, and it was really nice. And after that, most people went to the after parties, which mainly involved partaking in libations and smonking the pont, which was not something I exactly wanted to get into. And also my friends, by that time, my friends had like made their own plans and like gone off somewhere. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll just call my mom to come pick me up. And she did. And I went home. I took my dress off, wiped all my makeup off, and I went to bed. And that was that. And I suppose it is a memory, but I'm also a little taken by how much all of that stuff cost, because I think my dress might have been $600. No exaggeration. It was kind of expensive. It was more expensive than the average dress. I'm saying $600, but it might have been closer to $400. I know it was a lot, but at the same time, my mom was, I guess, willing to, I don't know, pay for it, and she did. So I don't know if it was worth the money though. I still do have my prom dress. Obviously, I don't have it with me. It's at my mom's house, my parents' house, and in a closet somewhere. But yeah, I get, I don't know. Maybe my mom executive produced all of that because she probably knew it was gonna be a while before I got married. Because let me tell you, it ain't happening no time soon, and who knows if it's gonna happen when she's still on this earth. So I'm gonna give her one concession. She maybe just wanted to see all that happen, because by the time I was gonna be tying the knot for real, she might not be on this planet any longer. Because I like to do things at my pace, and I might be the kind of person who gets married at like 40 for the first time. And honestly, it'll probably be great, because by the time I'm 40, I'll probably be rich. I hope. I'm manifesting it. I'm gonna be rich, gonna be super hot. It'll be honestly a amazing wedding. So yeah. And of course, I don't have any other female siblings, so she probably wouldn't have that experience with anyone else. Even though she's been involved in a lot of people's weddings, people keep asking her to like manage their weddings. I don't know why she keeps doing it. I guess she likes it. I don't think she charges. She could, but again, when she's done this, it's usually been for like family and like family friends. So I suppose that's why she can't charge for it. I would be charging. If somebody asked me to like do their wedding, like video or photos, I would be charging way too much, because if you're gonna have me be stressed out on not my big day, you're gonna compensate me, okay? So actually that's a lie. If somebody asks me to do their wedding, I'm gonna say no. That's far too much pressure. And honestly, I am far too grown to have that much pressure on me. And that brings it back to our first topic about pressures. Sometimes it's not worth it. And I'll leave it at that. I've been going for, I think, over an hour now. So we're gonna wrap it up. this has been the end of the school year episode, I guess. So yeah, this has been episode 2 of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. Thank you for sitting here and allowing me to run my mouth. And I'll see you in the next one. Oh, geez. Okay, before I go, hold on. I was about to skedaddle. Follow me on Twitter at it's just Aaron _ Aaron with an A, and you can find links and everything in the appropriate places. So I don't even know why I had to end like that. I could have just put anyways.